Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm your host, Michael Andre Ford, your American Angel Intuitive in San Antonio, Texas. Today, we have a super special guest coming to us from France. She's originally born in South Africa, though, and lived in Australia for 20 years, did some time in the UK. We have Lieselle Elliot with us. She is fantabulous. She's got so many skills and ways that she helps people to her name. The Eternal Tarot is the biggest thing right now. She's a psychic. She does guided meditation, breath work, poet, artist, writer. But the Eternal Tarot has almost 900,000 followers on TikTok. Across all the platforms, it's closer to 1 million. She's narrowing or getting closer to on Instagram, 40,000 followers. She's just done a fantastic job when it comes to a business model. And whether you view it as a spiritual business model or what she really does, which is reach out through social media, touching millions of people a week with inspiring messages and reminders to be in their heart. So I'd like to welcome Lieselle to the show. We have met and talked on and off for a couple of years, and I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, Michael. It's such a pleasure to at last be sitting down and having a good old chat that's recorded.
Exactly. So I just wanted to mention a few ways people can get in touch. Now, you probably have 1,000 counterfeit accounts on TikTok. I see them all the time. They keep following me. It's crazy. But just so people know, for TikTok, you'll be the only account by the time they look getting closer to 1 million followers. It's the _eternal_tarot, TAROT. And that is your account at TikTok. I'm just going to mention your website one more time. It's theeternaltarot.com. And from there, anybody can branch out. And you have also fabulous offerings, whether it's a calendar, journals, breath work, guided meditation, and so on. So why don't you do your own intro if you could? And if you could just mention the time you took off sailing, we got to cover that as well.
Yeah, okay, sure. Well, it's funny because you say, the time I took off sailing, I didn't take time off. I work whether I'm on a boat or whether whether I am here in France or whether I'm in the UK, or I just spent 5 weeks in Australia as well. I don't really take time off from what I call spirit or my highest guidance. So what is really cool about what I do is, and it's really happened quite by accident, is that, I don't work in an office, but I've always didn't want to. I always wanted to work for myself, and it's funny because both my parents were incredibly spiritual people, and my dad would have visions, and as a child, I just hear him talking about these visions, and my mother had this uncanny sense of being able to know when somebody would die, and she would just know. And I was surrounded by this. My grandmother had a crystal ball. Like, these are the people I grew up with. So I was sort of surrounded by this from a very young age. And yet all of them, I thought about it today, all of them would say, oh, you can't make money from that. It's just the thing. You can't make money from that. That's silly. Don't be silly. That's not what you do. So, I just went off and did my obligatory English degree because I was really good at English. I like to write, which really sort of, it was fitting in with what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really sure. And in the background all the time was this thing that I had, and I'll explain a bit more about that later. But so I was a very young child when I was exposed to all of this spiritual stuff, and quite frankly, a lot of it scared me because I really didn't know what to do with it. I was aware that my parents used to joke about it. They'd say, as a baby, you wouldn't go into certain houses. You'd just dig your heels in and go, no, thank you, not go in there, scream blue murder, and we'd turn around and walk out. And I thought, wow, well, that's kind of cool, but really not really, because what do you do with that? What's the point? What's the point? And I have a fairly, despite maybe, what people think, I have actually quite a logical brain. And my logical brain was like, well, what's the point of all that stuff coming through to me if I don't know what to do with it? What is the purpose? What is the point? Is there a point to it? And so my logical side sort of started to really explore, who are you? What is this that I can hear? What is this that I can hear? And what is the point of it? And this led me some years ago now, I'd say about 25 years ago, to meditation. And meditation it was funny because I don't know if you're aware, or you probably are, knowing who you are. You're aware of Jerry and Esther Hicks. And I watched this DVD back in the day, and for the first time ever, I put this DVD in. I think it was called Abraham Speaks or something like this, right? And I watched it, and at the end, I remember turning to my very young son and saying, "That's who I am. I know this stuff. This is not new to me. This feels like home." So whereas anybody else I showed that DVD were like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about?" I was like, "No, that's who I am right there." And right then and there, I was like, "Okay, I need to explore this a little further." And so, I went about really getting into meditation and trying to, and of course, just as your logical brain does, tries to make sense of everything. Hello, that doesn't work very well. It's like, oh, that makes sense. So no, 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 let go. And it was, I beat up against walls because it was like, well, this isn't working. Why? And I just went, you know what? I give it away. If you're wanting me to do this stuff, show me how, because I'm not cared anymore. Go away. It was like, go away. And and then I had this, and I was doing a lot of readings for people at the time. I was working as a remedial therapist for a long time as well. I worked as a remedial therapist for almost 20 years. And the first time I put my hands on somebody, I thought, okay, and I'm picking up something about this person, and it's not mine. It's not me. It's not who I don't know what this is, but there's something about this. And I used to find it really interesting because I worked at a chiropractic office. So I really thought nobody really wants to know about this stuff at the chiropractors. They really just want their problems sorted. But I was picking up stuff. But the more and more my clients came to know who I was, and I guess trust me, they would trust some of the things that I said. And some of those things that I said had nothing to do with the practical reason that they were there. And so where was I going with that, Michael?
No,
So
you
where
were touching, not letting the chiropractor necessarily know any more than they needed to know, but then starting to work more with the guests.
Yes, absolutely. I was doing a lot of reading at that time. And then about, I would say, so this went on for ages, and I was always doing my major work. I've been an editor. I have worked, worked in the degree that I actually gained, thank God. But I always did the spiritual stuff on the side. And then about probably 2.5 years ago, my son he's a very spiritual, but also a very creative young man. And he said to me, "You know what, Mom, I think the thing that you do would work very well on TikTok." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, you are mad. That is like, how is this going to work on TikTok? I don't even know what TikTok is, first of all. Secondly, when I looked into TikTok, I was like, is this for 14-year-olds? What is this about? How is this going to be beneficial?" And he said to me, "Just trust me." He said, "Make short little videos of what you do." He said, "Just imagine that you're talking to somebody who knows nothing about this stuff. Perhaps just start there and, make these videos." And I was like, "Oh, golly, yeah, all right, whatever." And so I started making these videos, and I plowed away. I was very consistent. Every day I'd show up, do a video, post it. Now on TikTok, whether you know or don't know, when you get to 1,000 followers, you can go live. So my initial goal was, let me go live on TikTok and just see where this takes me, because it felt to me like a lot of work for no good reason. Truly, I didn't see any benefit to it. I just sort of took time out of my day. And I thought, oh, golly, is this just another thing? Anyway, I hit 1,000 followers probably about, I'd like to say, nearly a year after I joined TikTok. So it took me a long time to get to that 1,000 followers. And then when I hit the 1,000 followers and I went live, it went nuts. It went nuts. In some of my first live videos, at first I was excited because there were 20 or 30,000 people there. Later, there were 100,000 people who had seen that video, or any live that I'd been on. And, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And a year after that live, here I am with nearly 1 million followers there. So it blows my hair back in so many ways, because, it's exactly what I've always been doing. I'm not seeing not standing on a stage anywhere doing this. I'm literally sitting on my phone just as I'm with you, except I'm reaching that many people at any given time. Um, but it was really interesting to me how every door opened once, that happened. Every single door opened and continues to open along this path. So which makes me go, okay, that's fine. I'm not beating a hole in the wall. I'm literally opening a door. It's open. There's no lock on it. And I'm walking through that one. And what's the next one? 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 So, that story. You often hear it with musicians, like, overnight success kind of thing. I've been doing this for 21 years formally. Okay, I have shown up to do readings for people for over 20 years. So it's not an overnight success at all. The TikTok aspect, sure, but all of a sudden the same thing I've been doing for so many years is just now exposed to so many more people.
It's beautiful. And that little shift is a reminder for all of us that no matter what sort of routine we think we're in, how we're doing our career, how we're doing our relationships, how we're doing our routine, our living, that there's always a way to just shift combination up of our approach, our shifting our energy, and then things can explode for us. Why don't you tell us a little bit more you've been diversifying into other social media platforms. So Instagram, for example, the last time I checked, you were at 31, but now you're closing in on 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Are you getting like 5,000, 6,000 a month or higher than that? It's just this, right?
So I would say, first of all, on TikTok, after every live, now I may go on twice a day on a live on TikTok, which will be under an hour always. So we're talking about maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I will have 2,000 or 3,000 new followers after each live. So that's per day on TikTok. So that's the growth there, which is huge and fine. But I'm very wary of building a business on just one social media platform, only because I'm not in control of that, right? So anything can happen there. And so for me, that was lovely, but it was also sensible to sort of, how do I bring these people over to Instagram? For me, Instagram, the people that are there are a little bit more engaged. So it's a little bit more like, I want to be here. And, so I tested the theory, and it was entirely my idea, which I'm very, well, I say that, you know what I mean? It was my idea. But I thought to myself, if I can go on a live on Instagram directly after a TikTok live and say, hey guys, on TikTok, I'm going to head on over to Instagram now. Would you like to follow me there? And they do. So not all of them naturally, but those who are really engaged will head on over to the Instagram live. So I have dedicated now about a half an hour, I would say, a day to Instagram, where straight after the live on TikTok, and it's just once maybe on Instagram, not generally more than that, maybe once, maybe twice at a push, but once for a half an hour on Instagram, I will head on over and continue a live reading there, and all of those people will follow me. The first thing I'll say is, welcome, thank you so much for taking the leap of faith over here from TikTok and if you wouldn't mind, this is a much smaller tribe, would you help me grow? Follow me. And you just see the little follows go, follow, 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 follow. So I would say after every live on Instagram, you're talking about hundreds of people have followed. It's low if it's under 100. It's really low, and so it's just, but it's just for me, it's a very natural extension to say that. I don't feel like I'm selling it. I'm just saying, well, I'm going to continue the live. If you still have time and you'd like to join me, or you have Instagram, because many people go, well, I don't have Instagram. And then you go, well, that's okay. I'll be back here later. Or check out the website. It's okay. But yes, I find that a very natural extension of actually pulling that over. And it feels, it's important to me. I don't feel like I'm a natural salesperson. I don't like it. But I'm very good at it because I believe in it. And if I believe in something, I will talk it up to its max because I believe in it. And I think that works on this for me very much. Very, very passionate about it.
What's getting not mentioned so that the audience understands this is Lieselle's got this ability to deliver a good vibe through 2 screens anywhere in the world and to a lot of people at once. So she does it in short order. Sometimes they're longer chats and stuff, but she talks life advice, gives us reminders to get back into the heart, start living again, stop doing this, stop doing that. And she just has this way about her. So if you haven't seen her TikTok you know, you haven't seen the material there, you haven't seen Instagram, you need to check that out, because then you're going to get a relational point to this discussion. Now, I'm going to mention YouTube for a second, because all the other social media platforms are kind of, you can get monetized, you can do this, you can do that, but YouTube's kind of permanent. It's like a permanent,
Yes.
yeah, that video gets seen, and, you know, 10 years later, you might have 400 million views on something where you're not going to get the credit the same way. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what you're doing for YouTube, because that is going to be very interesting for
Yeah.
you. You have so much content.
So I have for YouTube, what I'm doing at the moment, which is really important to me, is what I call, you know, because people often come to me for readings, for instance, for intuitive readings and that kind of thing, and that's fine. Those are paid readings, but it's important to me to also give a little bit back. And for me, how this all started was through one important thing, and that was meditation. So hence the mic. What I do is I record meditations, and for me, YouTube at the moment is for guided meditation, and just to help people, because one of the most, you know, the age-old thing, I can't meditate. My head is too busy. Well, hello, welcome to humankind. Okay, so let me help you out with that. You know, let me help you with that. If you cannot sit there on your own and be in a still space, let me give you a little guided tour, and it can be a short one, it can be a longer one. So for me, YouTube, and what I'm incredibly proud of is certainly the meditation and the meditation journey. And what I always say to people as well is, you know, I'm sure you've done it as well. Sometimes when you're searching for a meditation, you can come across somebody's voice that is like, that's not for me. Not for me today. Thank you ever. And for me, it's like, I'm never going to be for everybody. I don't need to be. I just need to be for those people who resonate with me. And if somebody can handle the sound of my voice and is able to be taken on that little moment where they can just spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes on a little journey, that is not on their phone, or, you know, that's just literally within themselves a little bit more, I'm happy to facilitate that journey. So for me, that's what's happening on YouTube at the moment. What is interesting about that is obviously I put them up on YouTube for nothing, but they're on other platforms too. So I'm on, you know, Spotify, on Apple Music, on Insight Timer. I think on every platform known to mankind, to be truthful. I've got a lovely little assistant who, you know, who puts everything out onto everywhere. And he sent me a message the other day, and he said to me, "Do you realize that in South Africa on Apple Music, your meditation just reached the #1 meditation ever?" And I'm like, what? How is that possible? How is that even possible? And he's like, well, they like your voice. Obviously, there's a familiarity there, and, you know, obviously, and they love it, and they buy it, and I'm just like, wow, that's super cool, because that to me is something that just sits there in the background that I feel, I don't care what, I think I'll be eternally proud of that. Because no matter, and I sometimes think to myself, you know, I don't care if the recording wasn't 100%, or, you know, there was a bit of a crackle here, because, you know, he moans at me, that assistant as well. You know, that was a bit of a crap recording. Yeah, okay, I get it, but you know what, that was okay. If that's going to help somebody today, I'm sure it will, and they'll get over the crackle. And so I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to that. For me, it's really lovely just to have that recording out, and to know, and daily, what I love as well is I'll get those messages that people say, "I've listened to your meditation so many times, I just love it so much, thank you." And I just think, wow, that's something that will go on forever, you know, as long as the internet's there. That's a cool thing, and I'm really happy about that.
Oh, I love it. And okay, so backing up again in another way, just so folks know how to spell her name and find her. I mean, obviously it'll be in the fine print below the video, but just think Gazelle for how you pronounce her name, Lieselle. And that's Lieselle. And Elliot would be like Elliot Ness, but Elliot with 2 L's, but 1 T. So Elliot. And it's the Eternal Tarot. Again, on TikTok, it's _eternal_tarot. And there's going to be, not kidding, 1,000 kind of copycats out there that are fake. You're never going to get an offer or anything like that. She's the only one near 1 million subscribers. So I did want to plant the seed now. YouTube allows you to have multiple channels. And anytime you're ready to, and this is a huge poor assistant out there, because they're going to get tasked with, you know, a couple million hours worth of content. But when you do eventually move it over and house it in a branding structure, separate from your beautiful guided meditations, please check those out. That's just a wonderful offering by Lieselle. That is going to be so much fun to watch you on that channel just help even more people on top of what you're doing, which is tremendous as it is. Okay, tell us about boundaries. You obviously, when you were little, had we'll call it super skills. We all have the super skills either on the soccer field, in the kitchen, the pitch for soccer, or the kitchen, or somewhere where we don't even know we're expanding and we're connecting and we're enjoying mystery books, or we're just a great gardener, but we're letting go of the thinking and we're connecting to all. Where did you really fully adopt in your life the skills, start using them? And then how did you practice boundaries, and how can you turn around and help some of the listeners out there have either experienced this, are starting to experience it? How can they put up better boundaries so that they're not mixing energies in a not so fun way?
Okay, so it's interesting to me because in one, obviously I'm of an age that I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I think that sometimes boundaries come along with age and with learning, and many people repeat the same sort of things over and over again and wonder, where the hell did I go wrong? Why is this happening to me? For instance, today, I think it was today, somebody on TikTok said to me, am I a magnet for toxic relationships? And I said, oh, could you just stop there right now? Just stop right now. First of all, that's a statement, and that statement's very strong. So I'd like for you to change it to, I am worthy of great love. Let's just change that, okay? Because you're basically saying to the universe, and the universe for me is a yes man. I am a magnet for toxic relationships. Yes. So it's just like, can we just change that language right away? So first of all, it's about language, right? So but it's easier for me to say this now further down the line. And it's interesting for me too. I have in my life, I found that my boundaries were not great as a young person, especially because I'm one of those ridiculous things called a people pleaser. And so for me, a lot of my worth came from doing lovely things for people. And so, I find it very difficult, especially in my personal life, to distinguish in my boundaries. And really, it took me a long time to get actually stop it, stop it, stop it, stop doing that. It's okay if nobody likes you, or so, and not nobody's going to like you. They're going to like you anyway. Just be who you are. And this has taken me time. That aspect aside. Now, on the spiritual side of things, for me, it's been easier. And I can only put that down to, like, I'm very firm. I'm sure you can imagine on my channel, especially doing the things that I do, and reading, obviously I read as a clairaudient first, and I will tell people what that means, which means I hear messages from spirit. I hear my guidance. And then only later do I pull cards. Now, a lot of people don't associate that with good stuff. There's a lot of stigma around it. And so I attract a lot of comments that attack that. I've been called lots of different names that aren't very nice. And the weirdest thing is, and it's been very interesting for me to notice, it runs like water off a duck's back to me, because I really don't give a damn. I feel absolutely so empowered in what I'm doing. And I think the only reason I feel that way is because I feel like I'm just really a channel for something much higher than myself. And that's why it's so easy for me to do that. So on the spiritual side, and it's funny because my husband will always say to me, wow, you're really strong in that. Like, how is it that you can just do that? And I'm like, I have no problem. I know who's on my side. I know that I can attribute, and I think this is really important too. I can bend over and appreciate all the praise, but that praise is equal to any criticism coming my way. It has nothing to do with me. It's lovely to get praise, but if I were to base my worth on it, what worth is that really when it's not coming your way anymore? So for me, somehow spiritually, I've been able to really go, it doesn't really matter. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am. And that, again, is just accepting who I am. Now, again, that's taken me a long time to get there. I read for 20 something years before getting to a point where I can go, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm comfortable to do this. In fact, so much so that prior to doing the whole TikTok thing, and this is what I felt was the open door, I used to call myself Lieselle, self-empowered, like intuitive, something really namby, bloody, pamby, wishy-washy, some kind of. And my husband said, "What does that mean? Like, what does that even?" I said, "I don't know, but I just don't want to say tarot." And he'd go, "Why don't you just own who you are and what you do? Why don't you just own it?" And with a big like, "Ooh, okay, fine. I'll do that." And I did it. And the moment that name changed to the Eternal Tarot, I can tell you every damn door opened. So coming back to the boundaries thing, you know, it's like you can't really set boundaries unless you are willing to accept your worth. And you know, you have to get your worth here really central, like this is who I am and I'm worthy. And if your little voice inside of you goes, no you're not, you have to tell that damn voice to shut up until you believe it. Because until that point, you know, it doesn't, you don't buy it, you don't believe it. I wrote this tiny little book, it's a children's book, it's called Millie the Dragon and the Genie. And it was based on the concept that I believe everybody has a dragon and I believe everybody has a genius right here. Okay, now the dragon speaks ever so loudly. Blah, 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 blah. Constant dragon, like blah, blah. Fed. What is the dragon fed by? Social media, insecurity, comparison, noise, external stuff coming at you over and over and over and over again. Now, the genius, which we all possess, sits here inside of us and is quiet, who never speaks above a whisper. And our greatest battle is shutting the damn dragon up long enough so we can tap into this and go, what do you think? Because he knows. He knows. And, you know, that's the thing. If, you know, if you can distinguish between, the dragon will always keep you small. No matter if he says, I'm your friend, I know what's best for you. And then he goes, look at your fat thighs while you're running. You know, that's the dragon. That's the dragon's voice. And that is, it's part of you. It's part of who we are. So we don't need to banish the dragon, but we need to realize that there's another radio station playing. And that one knows that you're worthy and you're amazing and you're everything and you are source energy and you are capable of anything on this God-given earth. You just have to say, I am, and accept it. And I think it's just that little thing over there. When people become aware of their dragon, it's quite interesting to me how quickly they go, oh my God, I think that was the dragon. That's not cool. It's a fun game to play, though. It doesn't have to be a serious game. It's a fun game. Because you can go, look how silly that was. What a silly little voice. I don't have to listen to that voice. I don't have to buy that story, you know? So for me, that was the big turning point for boundaries is worth, is discovering my worth and feeling worthy. I could talk forever about that, really, Harry. But
oh, you're doing so fantastic. I've never heard it quite put that way, and so it's super inspiring. And I get it. Your vibe's higher, more self-love, more self-worth, more just being in the moment. And so a lot of the details or a lot of the thrusts of energy sent your way, whether it's from the dragon or from outside external sources, just kind of fall away a little bit easier, I would think. So I wanted to ask about on the bent of, you know, source, our path, we have a unique life journey, the soul, self-love, just the journey of life and discovering that you have more down with the genius in the heart. You have more opportunity than you realize. So it's get out of the dragon, get into the genius. Tell us a little bit more about how everyone's unique in their own way and how to tap what they've got.
excellent. So for me, you know, one of those the question I get probably asked the most is, next to, like, you know, is this my soulmate? Is probably, let's just push that one aside because that's ridiculous. This one over here, and I'm not knocking people who are asking about love, but it's just like, come on, you know, that's probably not your soulmate today, really. So what we're looking at here is the next question, and that is, what's my purpose? What is my purpose? What am I here to do? What is my purpose? What is my goal and my, and for me, your purpose is to let me just give a broad phrase of what I think people's purpose is, each person's purpose is to show up and be who you are. So what's the next step after that? Who are you? So, you know, what is it that brings you joy? What is it that blows your hair back? What is it that makes your heart sing? What did Napoleon Hill say? Follow your bliss. Therein lies your Therein lies your path. Follow your bliss. What is it that gives you joy? What is it that makes your soul soar? Therein lies your purpose. Okay. Now, most people, that's where the dragon comes in. I can't make money from that. I can't make money from that. Yeah, well, actually, you can. Look at me. I have a job right now that nobody can give a description to. I make a fair whack of money. I make a really decent money. So yes, you can have a job from that because this is what I am meant to do. It took me the best part of my life to figure that out. And that's okay too. But purpose is, what is it that gives your soul joy? Because there is your first clue. There's your clue. Because when you discover that, whether it be painting, and a lot of people say, how do I remember what that is? How do I pay attention to what that is? Well, a lot of people will tell you this, what did you do as a child that gave you the greatest joy when you didn't have to make money or there was no pressure for money? What did you spend your time doing? There's another clue for you. What is it that you did? What did you do? What did you enjoy doing? Was it nature? Was it inside? Was it at a computer? Was it gaming? Was it drawing? Was it painting? Was it writing? You know, these are the clues. These are clues to purpose. And it doesn't have to be that hard because so many people are just trying to fit into what the society has presented as a box. Okay, here's this job, and my parents were, I love them dearly, they were my blessed beautiful parents. Same thing. Oh, don't go and do art, Lieselle. I think accountancy might be really good for you as a subject. Never used it ever. Okay, so it would have been horrible to do as a subject, but ever, there it was. That was the advice. And why was that advice there? That advice was there because they couldn't see anything beyond that, because that was the constraint that was supplied by society or their parents or whatever the case may be. And that was what they then modeled their advice upon. That's fine. That's what they knew. But there is always a way to find abundance when you are doing something that you absolutely are meant to be doing. And we all have a unique perspective. For me, spirit flows through. We're all one. I know that everybody hears that we are all one. My best analogy I've always come up with for there is, spirit is like the ocean. And I love the ocean. I love the sea. So look at the ocean, right? There it is. Now that's like source energy. Now, when we are born, it's like taking a little plastic bucket and scooping that source energy into the bucket, right? And there we go. There we are, our individual little plastic meat suit, right? With source energy inside of us. And we all go around in these little buckets, convinced that we are, you know, individuals and doing the best we can do. But in the end, inside of us, we're all just source energy, right? But each bucket is designed for a different purpose. Each bucket is a unique lens of that spirit, because let's face it, when that source energy is poured into that bucket, it looks different in that bucket to that bucket to that bucket to that bucket. And each one has a different purpose. Each one has a unique lens. And you know, I'm also of the belief that really we are all just here as source energy, seeking to have fun and to explore and to expand consciousness. And how does it do that? It does that through picking some human lens and going, yeah, let me explore myself through you. What are you? You know, who are you? What do you want to explore? Show me the world. It's like giving spirit eyes and a face and going, go be, go do, go see. And yeah, so yeah, so again, a long-winded
No,
response to your
that's
question.
totally beautiful. We really appreciate that. That's incredible. Talk to us. Let's take everything we've talked about, because we've talked about a lot: unique life path, the soul, source, letting go up top, getting into the heart. But can we flip that pancake a little? Take what we've just said and just take a different perspective. We'll go to the treetops. How about daily exercises? It could be breath work. It could be mantras or a mudra or whichever way is coming to you right now. Could you give us a smattering of halting to the thinking, halting to the routine, full stop once in a while? What can we do to just center again, ground, connect to all? And I know you've got great insight here.
You know, this is one that people, I feel, find quite difficult, and that is staying in the present moment. So I don't care what it is you do. For me, and I know this sounds really weird, but for me to center and ground myself is to wash the dishes by hand. Seriously, and make it a sensation. So how warm is the water? I'm just with this plate now. I'm going to clean this plate really well and put it up there. I mean, I don't like doing the dishes, don't get me wrong. It's not something I love doing, but it brings me back to the present moment. Another one is eating your food mindfully. Like, you have 10 minutes with a plate of food, and if you take the time to just taste, to be with it, you're not thinking of anything ahead of you, you're not thinking of anything that's gone. Now, let's face it, how many times has that happened to anybody in their life where they're going, because we pride ourselves as a society on multitasking. Nobody multitasks very well at all. And it's like, oh, it's amazing. Look how wonderful, like all these things done. And yeah, and where are you? Where are you in all of this, you know? So coming back to me, I want to say single tasking is the one thing I'm guilty of it as much as anybody. Is the way I bring myself back to the present moment is I single task to the best of my ability. And, you know, I have been that distracted in my life. If I've been packing up a home, I've had to actually lock myself in one room so that I finish the room, because otherwise I leave and then nothing gets done. And that, you know, I'd like to say that if you can bring yourself to the present moment and what you're doing fully, because quite frankly, it's the only thing you've got. The future is not promised to you. The past is already gone. You've got this present moment. And where's your head? It's not really here. So I would say find something that you do daily. I don't care what it is, whether it be a mindful 10-minute walk, whether you are eating. I love the idea of eating or sitting down, eating, sitting in the garden, just watching the birds or something like this, or in fact, washing the dishes if you're really, you know, and just engage all the senses in that particular activity. You are fully present. And that's why breathwork is lovely, because breathwork helps people anchor that moment. You know, here's my breath. Here I am, right here, right now, anchoring that moment as much as you possibly can. And you can just use the breath work, but more than that, you can actually do something and engage with it. And I guarantee there are many people who go by and say, I can't remember what my last meal was like, or I had a wonderful taste sensation. They probably ate on the run. You know, they did a lot of things on the run. Take the time, stop, savor, and be in the moment as much as possible. For me, presence is probably one of the most important things that again, as a society, I don't believe there's so many people worrying about what's going to happen ahead. There's so many people about who ruminate about the past and what has happened, and so very little, few of us are here in this present moment. And again, I include myself in that. I have to remind myself of that. That is constant work, though. That's constant work. Another thing I want to speak about here, which I think is incredibly important. It strikes me so many people are chasing happiness when happiness is available right here, right now. And the way to achieve that is to get it through gratitude, on being grateful for what you already have. You can never, ever, 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 ever. I think it was, who's that delightful comedian? I don't know if he's delightful American comedian. I'm trying to think of his name. He's probably passed on now. I can't think of who it is. You may know. But he used to say, you know, chasing happiness like externally is the same as trying to appease hunger by taping sandwiches to your body, right? It cannot be done. It's an inside job. and so and also you can't expect really, like, again, questions I get daily are, what will I have? Will this make me happy? Or when I get there, will I be happy? Well, no, because it's external to you. Happiness is an inside job. If you can find things to be happy for right now and find gratitude for that, that's when you truly open yourself up to more, if that's what you desire. You know, it's not going to happen by going, I'm not happy until I have this thing. Those things are never going to make you happy.
Oh, gorgeous. Okay. And that also reminds me of, I think it's Napoleon Hill's quote. It takes half your life before you figure out that, you know, living is a do-it-yourself project. So that goes right to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
So speak to us about not being alone and the bigger picture of the universe. You know, the dragon will tell you, the thinking will tell you, the psyche, the ego, and, you know, it's just a tough moment. You're not in your heart. You're not listening, you know, to love constant in and around you. can you remind us that the universe is really big? There's lots of shiny fun. You're surrounded by your ancestors, relatives, angels, guides, and so on. Give us the Lieselle Elliot, and let's remind folks we've got Lieselle Elliot here. The eternaltarot.com is her website. That's a safe spot to go. She literally has 1,000 counterfeit profiles, at least 10 of which are following me on TikTok all the time. So maybe 100 are following me on TikTok, but on Instagram, I think I've already seen one or something somewhere. It's the eternal underscore tarot, TAROT, and Lieselle is LIES. Sorry about that. I got to cheat. ELLE. Elliot, ELLIOT. And I have to mention, you had said something about when the person said, I'm never going to find my soulmate. Why do I keep getting into toxic relationships? Well, before the show, I was like, well, X and Y. And I'll say now, I am the best at getting people's names and street addresses or street names. And when I was much younger, I tended to forget those or not get them straight. It would take me a long time. I'm so improving in the very moment that we're in right now. So back to We're Not Alone. Could you give us a quick talk about that, a reminder how big it all is, and then it's just us forgetting again, like we normally do?
Sure. I'll use a life example for you, because that I think that's the only way I can really do this. It feels right to me. You know, I I had a pretty good childhood. Like, I had a really happy, lovely little childhood. I thought it was pretty good. I grew up in Africa. I had a free and, wonderful roaming, just like I lived in the bush at times. And, we used to think it was like a pain to go to the Kruger National Park and see another lion again. We had a great childhood. And looking back on it, was fantastic. And I lived in South Africa, and then I lived in Botswana for some years, and really a very varied, if you will, child, and really lovely childhood. And I got married fairly young. I was married, I was just over 20 years old, and I married my then husband, who and I had I've got two grown men children. And but that marriage of mine did not last. It was very nice and lovely marriage. It lasted 13 years, and then it was over. And then I was in a relationship that was from hell. Now, I had a gap between the two. The one relationship ended, I had about almost a 10-year gap before I had that next relationship. So I was raising my children on my own, and I was still okay, but I was like, this is hard. This is hard. I was in a different country. I was in Australia. I was on my own. I was just raising these kids, and it was hard. But I still didn't think it was too bad until I got into this really hideous relationship. And this really hideous relationship was based on the fact that I thought, well, maybe this is just it. This is what I get to get. This is this is what's come into my life. And I was in it for 5 years. And after maybe a few months, I knew this is not it. But I was in it for 5 months. And I remember, and it was one of the most remarkable experiences of my life. It was a series of events. Okay. The first event was, randomly, I was with this man who was quite abusive and quite hideous to me in many ways. Now, I accept my role in that as, I didn't think I was worth much more than that. I accepted that. And one of my greatest spiritual teachers was Wayne Dyer. And I just had so much spiritual wisdom from him. I adored him. I used to listen to him all the time. Over the years, I'd listened to him. And during this horrible relationship, I'd sort of totally, thought, oh, this is never going to be a thing for me. It's just, it's so far removed from my reality. I don't know this is my reality now. And I randomly, on good old Facebook one day, I saw this advertisement, and it was for a connection, like what do you call it? Like a course, I suppose. And it was going to be with Wayne Dyer on one of my favorite things, a ship. And this ship was going to go from Sydney to Fiji for 2 weeks, and it would incorporate this course with Wayne Dyer. And I just thought, oh my God, it's a sign, I need to go. So I thought, at the time, I said to my partner, would you like to come on this thing? And I still thought, in my mind, I was thinking, why am I asking this human to come with me? Because this is not his thing. It's not going to be his thing. And he was like, no, I have to work. I can't go. And I thought, okay. I invited my mother, and we went on this thing. And not only did I get to spend time with Wayne Dyer on this call, I woke up early in the morning, early in the morning, and I used to go for a little run, and it was about 5 a.m. And lo and behold, on the running deck, there was Wayne Dyer walking. And I went up next to him and we were chatting. And I was just telling him a little bit about what I was going through. And he said to me, I don't want you to be thankful for getting through any kind of storm. I want you to be thankful for the storm. I want you to be thankful for the storm. Okay. And those words just stuck in my head. And then he said, there's going to be this writing thing that I really feel will be wonderful for you on the ship. I want you to go and I want you to write, write your heart out. I feel like there's something that you have to offer. You've got a big story, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I took it all on board because I just loved it. Anyway, so I went to the writing thing. I wrote a poem in like under 5 minutes, and it was called The Lighthouse. And it goes, if I can remember it verbatim, many times I sought the lighthouse, the familiar beam in the dark, looking for the comfort radiating from its spark. Today, I turn that inward. No longer am I the seeker. I am not just the lighthouse, so I'm the light and lighthouse keeper. And that poem went on to huge acclaim and basically got me a job as an editor at Elephant Journal, which is a big mindful community. And I was an editor at Elephant Journal because of that poem and I changed my life. Not only did I change my life, I went home and left that man. And there it was in a nutshell. And all of a sudden it was like I remembered who I was. And that was a sequence of events that I could not have made up for myself. And speaking about angels, because I know this is where you're very familiar with this, I didn't know how to leave that man. I was like, I don't know what to do. I have literally, I have everything, our assets are all combined, like all the things that people like, what do I do? What I'm going to lose things. And I was prepared to walk away with nothing because I was just like, I'd had enough. And I sat down and I went, Archangel Michael, please, I come through, please. And that in later years, I've asked Archangel Michael never to come through that brutally ever again, just so you know, because he's very bloody brutal. But he came through really brutally. He was like, okay, that's what you asked for, bang. And the rift was within a day. Within a day, I was on my way out, and I was in my house. He was gone, and it was sorted. And that to me is the finest example of, I was in such a place of despair where I just thought, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. I don't see a way out of this ever. I cannot see a way out of it. No part of me remembered who I was. And by that little glimmer of hope of just listening to somebody's words and then asking for that help, it was delivered. And I still think about it now. It sort of gives me a little bit of goosebumps there. I just think, wow, that was pretty powerful stuff. And if anybody's in a situation where they don't know, they cannot see the light, they have to just find it within them to ask, to ask, if it's not for guidance, or if it's not for, just a little sign of something, a little glimmer of hope, because there is always a glimmer of hope. I know it's hard when you're in a situation that is, dark, but there's always a glimmer of hope.
It's wonderful sharing of your experience there. So it's interesting. This is the second show in a row taped, and this will air, I'm not going to be exact on this, but I think it could be April 30th, end of April, beginning of May. I think it's episode 15 for Lieselle Elliot on 2 L's, 1 T. And the prior episode is somebody used to play tennis with Wayne Dyer. And then would say something, and Wayne would stop. And this is told in the other episode. Wayne would stop the tennis play and come over and be like, whoa. And he wouldn't do whoa, because that's not Wayne Dyer at all. But he would get her out of her mindset and help her course correct consciousness again. Just beautiful, his way. And I mentioned, and so that'll be in the other episode. I'll just mention it for 2 seconds. He was coming to UT a few years before he passed. So I'm going to guess this is like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. Bass Hall is a big place in Austin, Texas. I was there for 10 years. I got to go, and that was fun. And he was walking up and down the stage thanking us for his Maui place, a condo, his house, whatever it was. And he did his morning swims, and he was getting up there, but he had his routine. He stuck by. And he's wonderful and reminding us all again that when you change your perspective, another of his quotes, when you change how you're looking at things, the things you're looking at change.
Yes.
And I love that Lieselle just reminded us to ask for help, and not just to ask for help. Ask the universe, ask angels, your guides, your relatives to show the way, light the way, lighthouse style, like our poetry, but also direct action as well. If you want to tackle that from a different way, how can, like, before bed, they say, is a very powerful time. First thing in the
Yeah.
morning, others are like,
Yeah.
I've got to do first thing in the morning. Bed, I'm usually foggy on first thing in the morning for me. Where can we set our intent? What does setting our intent mean? How do I own what I've got and start rolling the dice more?
Well, that's funny because there's this wonderful thing, you know, I've heard recently where I don't know who said it, but it resonated with me so much. We don't suffer from attention deficit disorder. We suffer from intention deficit disorder. Because a lot of people will say to me, I just want to be happier. And then I say, what does that look like for you? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? I want to be happier. That's too vague. What do you want? What do you want? So, how? I believe a gratitude practice. First thing we do in the morning is say thank you. We also occasionally have been known to sit down twice a week with a bottle of champagne and say thank you. And it's really important. I think it's important to sit wherever you are, no matter what you've got. And it's really important. You know, we've been very blessed in our lives with material things. We worked our backsides off for it, but we've also been very blessed. And to me, to not say thank you for that means you show no bloody appreciation for it. And it's really important for you to go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so early morning, yes, for sure. First thing every day, 3 minutes, all it takes 3 minutes can change your life. Really, it can. It shifts the most important thing you have, and that is your perspective. Your perspective is your magnet. Your perspective is your magnet. It's the thing that brings more into your life. People say, how do I manifest? Well, I say, well, you manifest all the time. You know that you manifest all the time. Not always what you want, though, is it? And so what is it that is the magnet? The magnet is your feeling. And gratitude gives you a sense of, oh, and the feeling is then the magnet. The feeling is that thing that just hits you right in there. And when you're feeling grateful for something, how could you feel anything but? That feeling is such a strong and powerful magnet. So, to do that every day is probably the best thing that you can do to change your life around in a big way. No matter how dark the day is, if the only thing that you can be grateful for is the comfortable bed you slept in last night, or the food that you ate, or one person that was kind to you, or a friend, or whatever it is, focus all your attention upon that and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because that will be the magnet that brings things back. Just coming back to that word intention as well. That book, the book by Wayne Dyer called The Power of Intention, I have given away maybe 20 copies of that book, because every time I get it, I go, you need this, you take this, off you go. So the power of intention for me is it's everything. It starts with you. And it's more than just, I want this, I need this, I'm going to manifest this in my life, that the head tells you need to do. It's about feeling into the intention of every interaction you have in your life as well. In that book, Wayne Dyer speaks about, you can show up at a family function and have the expectation that it's going to go like hell, and it will. It will go like hell. But if you have the intention of going there and going, you know what, let's see what happens. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. You're going to see something different, because that's what you intend. And that's where that power of intention is so important. It's not just about manufacturing things and, things that we can accumulate in our lives. While those things are all lovely little baubles, it's really about, how you feel and how you are, moving forward in it's more than the pretty dresses and the cars and things, although those things are lovely. So yeah, again, I ramble, but yeah,
No, no, no.
and then
You're
gratitude,
just
start with gratitude. My goodness, gratitude is just, it's such a simple practice, and it's become such a catchphrase, which I worry about sometimes, because it's like sometimes when people follow a list of things that they need to do, they're not really feeling into it. They're just going, oh, I've done that, tick that box, tick that box. Okay, now where's my thing? It's like, no, actually, let's get real with that a little. Let's really honor that practice. Let's really honor it.
sure. But if the giving thanks helps a person really drop to their heart, they might walk away from the kitchen counter. If they can write it out, that's an extra dimension of giving thanks to reinforce the words through the heart. And then if they walk away from the counter with a smile on their face, they know they've shifted the Wayne Dyer perspective thing a little. Their consciousness is expanded. They're more in their heart. They're like, I'm going to have a better day today, or whatever's next. Okay, we're going to get to something in just a second. The word but, because they've heard everything. The audience has heard everything you've been saying, and they're like right on. And there's no rambling on this. There's 3 times you've said that, and absolutely, that's the cream of the whole thing. You're hitting the nail on the head and saying everything on the mark. But there's folks who are going to have the dragon, the thinking, the ego come right back in and start to say but, and then the lack or the relationship or this happened or that happened to them, their personal life story, the drama, and so on. And so I'm going to bookmark that as we go sideways quickly to YouTube, because what I'm seeing again is, and I have to mention this, you have to love YouTube when you get a critical comment. Oh, that's so weird. What are tarot cards? You can put the word weird into a filter and that person will never be able to write it again. So it's actually very instructional. You flip the pancake and anything given to you, like I just did a really non-harsh comment. But when you get a harsh comment, you just take that language, you say, thank you. I'd never thought of those 2 words together like that. Drop it into the filter, your assistant would, and you've just got a greater, you'll never see those words again. And you can hide the user, they'll never see your site again.
Yes.
With YouTube, I have to mention, you have such a presence for talking, and I don't mean it that way. I mean, you have such a presence for covering topics, inspiring, and really sharing your essence, your journey, your collective wisdom and insight, and more. Are we going to see some sort of, and I'm saying talk show for some reason, are we seeing something coming up on YouTube on a different channel, separate from the guided breath work, that will allow you to go even broader? And I know you're doing this on, Instagram. Please check out Instagram. She's about to hit 40K. TikTok, again, she's, busted through the 900,000 mark. And remember, there's many counterfeit accounts. So go to her website, theeternaltarot.com, and you'll find all the links that you need. Talk to us a little bit about giving thought to, there's got to be another version of like talking to us that you've been playing around with. What can you say out loud that doesn't give away the surprise? Is it a year away? Is it 5 years away? Is it when you can commit the energy to it?
I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know the timeline on that. Again, for me, it's really important to follow the open doors. And at the moment, for me, it's just been so, I've been so busy and so consumed with my work. As I said, that it results from YouTube, I beg your pardon, from TikTok and from Instagram. And a lot of work does come my way there. But yes, I do. I do have a couple of things that I would like to work on. My son, the creative spiritual one, is very much has been on at me about podcasts, for instance, and this kind of thing as well. And certainly I want to, one aspect of my work that is really important to me, actually, because a lot of people come to me with the aspect of, oh, you're like the oracle, tell me what I need to know. And many times I find myself saying, no, actually, I'm your mirror. You're the oracle. What is it that I can help you, uncovering yourself? What is it that you can open and go, you know what, because you know your answers. When I say them, you resonate with them, and that's how we know we're on the same page, right? Because I'm not your oracle, you know your answers. So a big part of my work is also to help people tap into what is already there for them. Everybody has fantastic intuition. What they don't have is trust of their intuition. So everybody has the intuition. But again, here the dragon comes into play. Did I just make that up? That's a dragon's voice right there. Like, did you just make that up? And the dragon goes, yeah, you just made that up. Whereas the heart goes, no, actually, that was that little flitter. That was that intuition. How many people do you know? Probably every single person you know has gone, I knew that was going to happen. Why didn't I act on that? Everybody's had that moment. So we all have intuition. We just forget it. We don't trust it enough. And so it's a subtlety. And to me, what I am also writing a book at the moment, and it's really a book about my life and the path that I've sort of traversed on this clairaudient journey, if you will. It's just a ghost story. Don't let it scare you. And that's the working title, but I love it because it did scare me as a child. This was stuff that like I didn't really want to have any part of, and then it became very apparent that it was never going away, and it was something I needed to embrace. But part of that journey as well, and I think this is also important, is that I'd love for people to know that, especially intuitives, what they do and what comes to them doesn't need to fit into anybody else's mold. There is no guidebook for this shit, excuse my expression, Michael, but there is no guidebook. The guidebook lies here. And if you can honor that and do what you do anyway and trust what comes through, you then are experiencing that unique filter, that unique way of putting yourself out into this world in the way that you're meant to do it. Yes, you can take on board people's advice. Yes, you can take on things that resonate with you. And yes, you should take on things that you go, gee, that makes sense. I'm going to do that. That's wonderful. But moreover, you should also learn that your way is valid too. And it's as valid as anybody's way, and to trust it and to keep doing it and to keep working with it. And if it works for you, then go with it. If it doesn't work for you, tweak it. I just feel like this is where people run short, that we all look around at what everybody else is doing and then go, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do? No. Should I do this? Should I do this? I had a musician friend years ago who gave me it was quite a famous musician. I won't mention him, but I will say that he gave me some very good advice. And that advice was this. He said, originality is not, say you're stepping out of your house one day and you look over to the neighbor and you see how he's done his garden. And then you look over to that neighbor and you see how they've done their garden. And then you do something different. That's not originality, because that was shaped by what that guy did and what that guy did, and you're just looking for the middle path. Originality is when you step out of the door with a blindfold, put your hand on your heart, and do what comes out of there. Doesn't matter what anybody else has done. That is true uniqueness. That's true originality. And I just feel like we all have that capacity, but we're so afraid to just bite the bullet and do, for whatever reason. There's so many different reasons that we're afraid to do that. And I just think that we all can have a unique perspective and a lovely way of doing things that is as good as anybody else's.
That's wonderful. Trust more, allow more, be in your heart more, pay attention more. How about that? Pay attention to life, pay attention to the directions and the flows that feel good to go in.
Yeah.
And trust that your own authenticity knows what to do. Why don't we go in a little bit of a different direction? I'll blow you some sage smoke, kind of a classic thing we do on every episode. We did it before the show. We've done it before. So not to take any air out of any balloon, but this is just sage. If it's the first time you've ever watched the show, then welcome. And again, we have the eternaltarot.com guest, Lieselle Elliot, originally from South Africa, lived in the UK, lives in France now, did 20 years in Australia, just back from a 5-week break in Australia, an absolutely fantastic guest. Sage, red-tailed hawk feather, lighter. I'm going to light some. Lieselle through 2 screens is going to catch the scent. Some people start to catch it right away. You may taste it on your mouth. That's what she was just saying, but instead of applying it to walking out your door, there's no one way to receive the energy of the sage. Call it plant medicine if you want, Native American. Just let angels bring you the light of the sage through 2 screens. And then here's another way to flip the pancake and still talk the same thing we've been talking for the last hour, which is you can receive the sage and smell it, But you could also ask for angels to triple it and feel it up and down your back. And you could send it to someone or send it to their angels, as a different guest said, episode 5, Teresa Shantz. She said, when you send love to other people, send it to their angels. They know how to distribute it better. And I'm like, no
Yeah.
one's ever said that before. I love that. So here's some
That's
sage
cool.
smoke. Yeah. What are you getting, Lieselle, at your end right now? Just so somebody who's trying to let go and use their
Okay.
senses.
Yeah, for me, that I feel it in the nose, you know. So for me, it's not the mouth, but it's definitely in the nose, back of the head. That's where I'm getting that over there.
Okay, so you're getting some sage smoke your way. You're in France. I'm in San Antonio. One more time for us. And do you want to do something with it? Is it sparkly? Can you whoosh your back with it? It's angels, really.
I love that. First of all, I'm kind of chuckling because whoever it is telling me to sit up straight. Okay, I will. I'll sit up straight. I'm getting sit up straight, sit up straight. Okay, I will. And that's quite funny. It makes me feel like somebody's like a kind of a matronly kind of like, come on now, sit up straight. You're on camera, like my love, just to do that.
I'll put some photos in front of you, including Archangel Michael, pretty quickly.
Yes.
I'll bring him in a couple different ways. And so these are just photographs when I was in a panic, kind of learning that there was such thing as being intuitive. You know, I'd had friends, a girlfriend who was intuitive, didn't doubt, but got goosebumps. But just, it can be tough for me to grasp stuff. 25 years later, I figured out what the words non-duality meant, and it took me a long time. But when I figure something out, I'm a fast teacher, so I got to give myself some praise. And I'll have to give one example. At college, Middlebury College, I had an internship with an ad agency guy from the West Coast, LA. His wife was Victoria Tennant's or principal's body double. He did animation for Disney, so he had these beautiful colored glasses. So he's got an ad studio, does ads. I think he did a famous film, movie poster series. What am I trying to say? Advertising for a famous film, Midnight Express. In the 70s, it was a really big
Oh
film.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here he is doing his thing legit, but it's a C-shaped office over the waterfall. And I don't, you know, I've always had a fascination with sharks being on the East Coast, read every shark book, Peter Benchley, that stuff, and ghosts. But it doesn't mean I'd ever seen a ghost or anything like that. Certainly, it was a disconnect. I'm there and I'm there for all of 2 seconds. And I'm like, do you guys ever get ghosts here? And the whole place stops. He has to pull me aside and explain they just had an exorcism. And if I see anything, to let him know. Now, a week later, I saw a cat that didn't exist run into a giant bathroom. I went in, there's no cat. And all I could do was just scratch my head. I had no capacity to go beyond. And even if you could grasp, I spent 2 years trying to grasp angels. And my bottom line there is they exist. Trust that it's so. Roll with it. Start practicing being in your heart. So let's do an angel named Joy. And here
Yes.
she is. We've met her before. If anybody wants to put their hand out to the screen, fingers, palms, you might feel it on your toes, a whoosh down your back. Let go, be in your heart. But Lieselle, why don't you tell us what you're getting, what you're feeling? You could smell flowers, ocean, that one part of the Med when you were sailing.
Yes. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. So for me, joy is just overwhelmingly delightful, by the way. As you know, I don't know if you know, my mother's name was Joy. So my mother's name was Joy. So when you bring out joy for me, it's like, oh, yeah, oh, thanks, Mom. Thank you. And what I get with her as well is like you know, it's a bit ooh la la, but you know, there's like pink boas, like with the feathers. So I'm sorry, but that's what I'm getting. So like something that's like really pleasurable. So obviously it's like something sensual or something that's really pleasurable, like in the body, in the body. As much as it's like joyful, but it's more in the body, the pleasure of the body and allowing the, you know, relaxation, but the fun and more the sensuality. If I had to relate that to the tarot, I would say the Empress, somebody, you know, who's just really in tune with who they are. Oh, that is like that card is like pulsating there right now, like it's pulsating for me. So just like boom 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 boom. Yeah, like endeavoring, pleasure is the right word, sensuality is the right word that comes through there with that at
And
the moment.
I know she said that laughter is hope and healing for others. So the more you laugh, the more the others hear it, the more you're participating in life, you're sharing in the feast of life. Also, she's made the comment about auras, chakras. You know, there's the Hindu chakras. But one time she mentioned that red was laughter. And I was like, oh my God, because if you go online, there's a million opinions on what the chakras mean. Red means this, it means that, it means this. So with joy, if you wish, and we're not jumping the gun, we've been talking for a while, But if you wish, you can close your eyes on this one. I'm going to turn away. Obviously, you've got an audience here, but you could have your mom's voice come in just for a little reminder. And it could be something for us all, but she'll hold the space for you. And it may be just Joy's voice, but you'll get one last thing for all of us to keep in mind as we go forward.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I did get my mother's voice very strongly there. And I just got lighten up, little girl. Lighten up, little girl.
Oh, I like that. Okay, we're getting to Archangel Michael, and it'll be also a photo with Raphael, Uriel, and oh my God, Gabriel. There were 3 archangels that I can try to pull up the photo: Shamuel, Jophiel, and Ezekiel, something like that. Because I couldn't learn the names fast enough, it was years before I got to know them. The name thing, I'm so amazing at names. Okay, Charlotte. Here's Charlotte,
Yes.
everybody's favorite school teacher from childhood, 3rd form, Mrs. Wilson from Sydney, or Miss Johansson from San Diego. Just whoever your favorite teacher was, picture her as having words for your expansion, growing your wisdom, having more fun. She's been around the block, but what do you have for us? If you want to get something privately and get a few hugs, your call.
All right. Let's see what we've got, Charlotte. Oh, I like that too. Interestingly, she's brought the word joy in here as well. She said, like, bring joy to your journey. So joy is part of the journey. So joy is part of the journey. Joy is part of the journey. Again, I'm really, obviously I need to lighten up. Because, okay, it's just like lighten up a little bit. Don't take things so seriously.
Men.
Oh, I've got something else. Um, I've got something else, and this is, I know it's for me, but I also think it might be for others as well. So if anybody resonates with this very much is about what is your, no matter no matter what you do for your day job, what is your creative expression? What's your creative outlet? What is the way that you express yourself? So I'm just getting the, what do you do to allow, and it doesn't have to be anything formal, but it needs to be something, what do you express yourself how do you express yourself in a creative way? I know that's for me. I know that's for me, but I think it might be for some other people too.
That's beautiful. I mean, I just got a reminder the other day to start using my hands more. It didn't matter how, whether it was gardening or it was cooking, do something intricate with my hands. I don't think it meant joy. I mean, it could mean joystick video games, but I don't have a joystick. So
No, I don't think so. No, no.
now, this is my guardian angel. She's light waves of energy and water. It's an actual silhouette. You'll see her on the cover of the book, Listening to Angels with Charlotte, but more metallic balls of light. The point here is there's no one way for any photograph, or it has to be this modality, that modality. You don't need photographs. You can see full on though. Here's Min, just like Minnesota, the word water in Lakota Sioux. Now, Min, fantastic. If anybody out there has a favorite ocean and you're half the world away and it's been 20 years since you've been there, have her bring it to you. My only rule or structure to give people a reminder is just make the request. If you have to do this, do it, and just be like, hey, angels, get me out of my head, into my heart, make it nice. Amen, rock and roll. Thank you. Don't get caught at the supermarket, so do it silently through your heart. Otherwise, everyone will look at you. What would you like to do with Min, and what can you share with us?
Oh, I've got something comes to my mind. So especially the ocean thing. We sailed recently from all the way from Italy to the UK, which is 3,000 miles. Okay. 2 people on a boat, and with Min just coming through there now reminded me of a morning, and this is where that spray came up, and I had to get up at, well, I have anchor duty in the morning, which means at about 4:30 a.m., sometimes earlier, just as that first light of day starts to come into the sky. It's cold, it was like miserable, and I went out there and I had to heave up the anchor, and I remember standing and just watching the sky, and it was at that, again, the fading light that's just turning like this. And I could feel the spray. The sea was quite rough, the spray on me. And I just thought, this is what it means to be alive. And I think that's the message that comes through from Min right away, is that this is what it means to be alive. So I just want to bring back to that present moment again, that present moment.
I'll go on a side tangent, but just ask these two if it's okay to do the 5-second exercise that I'm about to do. We did it before the show, so we've already done it, but just ask them if thumbs up for that. And all I'm going to do is blow through the microphone for a little bit of sea spray. If you don't mind closing your eyes, I'll blow through the microphone back to the whole no time space thing, just like we did with the sage, or if you wanted to see an angel in my hand, pink ball of light through the screen to you, I'll blow and just catch a bit of that scent of ocean. And just beautiful. So the reminder here is really no limits. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Find a way in your own rhythm, I think she would say, or in your own authentic way. You have the right words, to get living. Just start. Okay, Archangel Michael, direct photo of him. He's one of my business managers with Charlotte and Rebecca. How about 3 things to keep in mind? Get something personal first.
Okay.
And then
got it.
3 things for all of us, and any mix or match that you want to share.
Okay. Oh, it's just so black and white. Oh, so he's so black and white. You know, I know that you're a Piscean too, aren't you, Michael? You're Pisces. Okay, so I'm one of the wishy-washy variety of Pisces. Like I'm everywhere, right? And he, like Archangel Michael, I almost feel like he's like going, really? Could we just get it together now, please? Could we just go in the direct line? You know, so I always feel like, and in some ways, I love that because it's an aspect of my personality that kind of needs that balancing, you know, just go straight down the line. So I know exactly what the personal message is, by the way. The thing that you asked me about before, like, so do you have a timeline for that? And I'm like, no. And he's going, really? It's not that hard. So I know what that is. That is definitely my message. I want to say, I think for anybody else watching, I feel this is a strong one as well. I think it's Elizabeth Gilbert who says, eventually, you know, the only change that comes about is when you get tired of your own crap. Like you just eventually just get so sick and tired of your own crap. Archangel Michael is representing that for me so strongly. It's like, at what point are you just not sick of your own nonsense now? Could you just get on with it? You know, like, come on, cut to the core, cut away the things that don't serve you anymore. Because we do, it's kind of reminds me, years ago, I became vegan, and people used to say to me, how did you do that? Like, how is that? I was like, well, I didn't add anything to my life. I just took things away. And instantly, that's what comes there is like, well, what is it that you just need to remove? Because nobody needs to add anything. You've already got it all. You just need to take some things away, the things that are keeping you down, the things that are holding you down, the things that are holding you back, the shackles that you perceive, they just need to be cut and let go because you know, you are source energy. And I think that's the message very clearly there.
Wonderful. Okay, 4 archangels in the next photo: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. I have an envelope. I've had a diagram for like, I don't know, 9 years now or 10 years for who they are. Again, I could, if you force me, I could probably guess. So yeah, I'm a little on this, but the bottom line is on this one, if you can allow all the angels, joy in there, a little bit of pink glitter in the air, as you're doing the usual, I'll put up 4. I just think this is a hilarious conversation. Allow a little bit of ticker tape or glitter, women's glitter, cosmetics, but blowing in the air to show up around you, just to celebrate you. So 4 archangels.
Wow.
And if you don't mind, I'll do it for the 3rd time. I'm going to ring a bell, but not literally. So a YouTube podcast, but obviously it'll carry elsewhere because anything you touch with the amount of momentum you have, the amount of audience you have, there are so many natural avenues. It doesn't have to be anything we've mentioned on the show today. There's just so many beautiful avenues. So I'll ask it a different way to make you laugh. Are you hiring a second assistant? Okay, 4 archangels. Okay.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. 4 archangels for you. Get some personal stuff, but get some stuff for all of us. And we've been doing it all day. I love this. So beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know what? I'm a child of the 80s, right? You know what came to me right then? There's my A team. It's the A team.
Very nice.
Really, you know what that means, right? Call the A team.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Audrey Hepburn, next. Angel on everyone's, well, available to everyone, but half grace, half being sparkly in the moment. She'll move, wink, smile in this photograph if you'll allow for it. Her hands will move, shoulder waggle, eyebrow goes up, nose does the bewitched thing. If people,
Yes, I was just saying her nose. It's the nose. Yes.
but just get a reminder if you could to, for self-care, self-love, having fun, popping that champagne cork.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. As you know, I live in France, so for me, the word that came with there was joie de vivre. You know, the joie de vivre, appreciating the small things, just appreciating that in France, there's a delicacy to life. People take time to savor things. Like in the West, we tend to push, achieve, achieve. We don't take time to stop and smell the roses. And that there, right there, was like that. Such a French feeling that she gave was this joie de vivre. What is it that you're living for? This present moment. Like, are you taking time to savor it? Do you have a healthy relationship with life? That's the feeling that I get from her is stop, savor, enjoy, because it's yeah, really 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 refined energy there. I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
3 houses ago, when we were in Austin, I named my house, but it was really Charlotte, the angel, who gave me the name. There are quarter boards you hang over the front door in Michigan, but I'm coming from Massachusetts, at one point Mid-Atlantic, East Coast. So Nantucket, every house has a quarter board over the front door. You've got a pithy, kind of wise name, Four Corners if you live on Four Corners, any type of name. So an Australian company, Americans moved to Australia and make these things. And I ordered one, but Charlotte gave me a French expression. Instead of raison d'etre, reason for living, reason for being, like you're a surfer, you live for waves, a gardener, you love to garden. It was switched to maison, the word for house for being,
Yeah.
maison d'etre, house for living. So that's the
Yes.
quarter board in my closet. It came down for some construction. And I wanted to mention, is it okay to put a picture? I've done this a couple times this year. My parents are reconciled. They're not angels, but they're just unconditional love spirit guides, ancestors. My mom's
Yes.
petite, 5'4" Barb. My dad is 6'1", Michael Andre Ford Sr., and ex-Navy, passed when he was turning 25, 26 off of Naples in a crash in an F-4 Phantom fighter. It was his time to go back then, in 1970, when I was 2. And then my mom
Wow.
passed when I was turning 23. It was her time to go, but her shtick was art and connecting people, not for her own purposes, but those people would become best friends, get married, what have you. Here are they, super young.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, and so that's Barb and Mike Sr. Mike can be quiet, but they've got great advice if they want to kick out a topic, maybe because they know you're going to knock the ball out of the park.
um I know exactly what that topic is. We were talking about it earlier, and we were talking about it in a little bit of a light-hearted way, but it is about soulmates, and it is about finding your mate, and not necessarily, and there's this wonderful meme that goes around. Obviously, I'm on social media quite a lot, and it goes, before you find your soulmate, find your soul mate. And I think that that's beautiful, because I was just looking at that thinking, we invite and accept into our lives that which we think we are worthy of. And I just feel like I looked at that picture and I didn't think that there were two halves of one whole there. I thought there were two holes there, two whole beings who were just complementing each other in that moment, and that was beautiful, and that they were whole, they were not one. And I hate that expression, my other half, by the way. I find that offensive. It's like, really? It's offensive. It's not your other half. That person doesn't complete you. I think this is what this is for me, is like, who, not just for me, definitely not, but like, who are you? Before you're seeking to fill that gap with something and somebody, who are you at your core? What do you love? What do you want to do? Spend your time doing it so that you shine. And when you shine, that's when you attract the kind of person you want in your life, isn't it, really? You know?
I love it. So one more angel. We might do a Native American chief, then we'll get back to chatting. or we'll do a few more angels and they'll just provide a quick topic for you to touch upon. That'll take any pressure off. And I know you're not feeling any. Okay. Isabel, an angel, an old black and white photo from the past, from like 50, 80 years ago. She's inner calm, tranquility. So think a pond that's a mirror, no rock being tossed, no ripples, or the ocean. And you'll love this one when it's glass on those rare mornings. There's not a breeze out. It's just the most beautiful, flat, mirror-like thing. So Isabel, you can allow her to start smiling more in this photo. This is one of those top photos like Sai Baba out of India where stuff happens. We know that a one-dimensional snapshot, a historical photo, shouldn't be able to move, but welcome to No Limits again for the audience. If you need to go to the website, a lot of these photos are on the front page, or you'll see it on social media and so on. Okay, so here's Isabel, inner calm, tranquility. And just get what you will from her, but allow her to smile more and more. And she's a little bit of like, we'll just call her Reiki, but it's beyond that. She'll help work on you as a ball of light to expand even more and to allow more. And Lieselle, are you feeling it?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah. So for me, that it's interesting because I got a couple of words there because because I work as a clairaudience, like I hear words. So for me, my messages come in this way, and that was really clear. And I'm just hearing she who emerges or rises up. So she who emerges or rises up. And for me, that's like I feel like I want to say she's like, you've been in a cocoon too long. And I think, well, that's not fair. I haven't really been in a cocoon too long. But I think that might be true. There's a safeness in, in what I do. And it's just like you've been in the cocoon too long, she who rises or she who emerges. Emerges was the word that came through really, really strongly there. It feels daunting to me when I say that, I have to tell you.
Oh, hey.
It's like, oh. Oh.
You are already offering so much for folks. And what's beautiful is it's just an extension of the love that you're already sharing in a broader way for some of the offerings down the road that are going to be reaching more by the millions, which is super exciting. So fun. We'll have to have you back on the show before then, so that when you've done that, we can have you back on a third time. I almost knocked my microphone over. Okay, 3 Native American chiefs: dull knife, wisdom with some humor. Think mountain range, but also think conscious breathing. You're going to love him. Red shirt, gentlest mom in the world, compassion, 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 so soft-spoken, and Geronimo, who steals the show. Dull knife, wisdom, beautiful face.
Yes.
And feel what you feel, get what you get, share what you can share, and maybe catch one of those Native American scents, sage, grass, tobacco.
For me, this is such an it's so earthy. It's so earthy, and the earthiness of it is, oh my God. Now I'm from Africa, as you know, but what I'm getting is dum 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 drum beat. And for me, drum beat is connected to the heart, connected to the earth, like really your connection, like, and the heart is that kind of drum as well. Really groundedness. It makes me want to go and put drums on, like just to listen to the dum 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 dum. That's pretty bloody clear. Very nice.
Okay, red shirt, and I need to remember one other angel who has an African connection, and I totally forgot that. I forgot that Lieselle, originally from South Africa, 20 years in Australia, Botswana as well along the way, UK, and now in France, and just did a 5-week vacation, Australia, plus a little bit of a sailing tour where she did work every day. Okay, red shirt is the gentlest mom in the world. So soft-spoken. Anybody going through really stuck times, divorce, family loss, job loss, you name it, health. Here's red shirt, wearing a U.S. presidential medal. Yeah.
Compassion. What I'm getting with this is the wording that comes through with red shirt is it's really interesting, but I'm getting the notion of being a good listener, and not necessarily just listening to somebody else's story, but to listen to yourself as well, like listening as part of compassion, not necessarily telling yourself a story or telling somebody what their help is or what they need to hear, but actually listening. Stop, listen, just bear witness. Bear witness. They're the wording. That's the wording that comes through. Bear witness. Listen. How does this apply? I know how it applies to me. I really do. I feel like I can sit here and, spout my answers and what works for me, but it's also about, I guess it's also about understanding that, people are at different places on their journey as well. And that, me, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have necessarily been, able to absorb whatever it is I needed to absorb to move on to a different place. So I can look at it in hindsight. So it's about really listening, listening, not only to somebody else's story, but to your own as well, with compassion. Compassion is a good word around that particular dude. It's very good, actually.
When you do pay attention, everything is your instruction. And then there's a lot
Yes.
more that. Okay, Geronimo Young, I'll get you Geronimo Old, then one last angel, then we'll talk some topics to wrap it up. Geronimo, action, 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 dry wit, super young here. Just do it if he's a Nike bumper sticker, would how I'd describe him.
Yes.
Oh, formal for the other two, but not for Geronimo. Yeah, nah, duh. You already know the answer sort of language. Oh, and
Yes.
if you don't mind, can we just cut to the chase? Because the audience, those who follow you and are watching this years from now are going to be like, this was the moment. Kidding. But can you ask him privately, but don't give us an answer unless you want to out loud. So it's private to you. Hear him on the whole show aspect of things and how one level of show leads to others and so on, and how you're really good at driving home some messages.
He's literally saying you have the capacity to empower, uplift, and elevate. Empower, uplift, elevate. Step up. Step
That
up.
might be a branding expression for you there, those 3 words in a row like that. I loved it.
Yes. Empower, uplift, and elevate. I like that.
Older Geronimo, and
Whoa, that is
yeah.
so wow.
And we'll let him, and if it's okay, Heather, an angel who makes hearts, bring you a touch of South Africa, just the earth, the soil, if you want to catch that unique soil
Yes.
color. There's a bunch of colors there, but like the red out of the ground so that you can see whether it's the dust in the air, catch a taste of it as a little thank you.
Got it.
But grounding again, centering,
Yes.
keeping an eye on who you are and what your actual path is and staying the course.
Yes. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
An angel who I've seen is a full-on human. Just ask for it. You don't have to worry about my details. But if Lieselle wants to suggest how to get here and ask, absolutely, let's hear her encouragement. But I've seen her in Maui and Sweden and New York, in an Austin bookstore, different forms. I got to surf with her. I was a bodyboarder, but she was a surfer. Portuguese ballerina taking time off from life in Maui. She didn't show up to dinner that night. I sat at the table at a nice restaurant in Lahaina and there was a no-show, but I got to surf with her. So it made the rest of my trip. Here's Heather. She makes hearts in her photos, but she's got an African connection. If you need to think Amazonian goddess, princess, how about Wonder Woman? You could see her that way, or African American style, or native, indigenous to Africa.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ways.
Yes.
But could you have her bring something from your origins in South Africa or Botswana, of the earth there? Again, there's something very special you can get.
Okay. Do I just ask her to bring it to me?
Yeah, just ask her to bring it to you.
Yeah.
Any sort of sensory, it could be a smell, certain type of cooking. It could be that drum beat again, but a different type of music.
Oh my God. I'm getting, I don't know if you know what an assegai is. An assegai is like a spear. It's a spear. It's a sharp-pointed spear carried by the Bushmen and also the Zulus that carry an assegai. And I get the word with that of commitment, follow through, commitment. It's not about the battle. It's not a battle at all. It's about commitment. It's the follow through. arrow straight through, shooting through, follow through. That's what I'm getting with that.
Oh, brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a final request, like Mary, Big Mary, Angels, Sai Baba? I've got one for you. Mac, don't call her Mackenzie. Everything plants, animals, and the earth. Green,
Yes.
hardcore. So don't call her Mackenzie, but here is her photo, and you can ask for the works. As we say in America, we order a sandwich with the works. Foreigners generally don't know what that means. That means everything on your sandwich. So sorry about that if you're in New Zealand. But the point of this is, Mac, ask for the works right now, wherever you are. And Lieselle Elliot in France right now is getting the works and having some fun. Maybe it's, again, Botswana, South Africa, something very special for her. She's very connected to the earth and water. Oh, and she'll do water for you hardcore. So
I'm getting water. I'm getting water. For me, it's water. I'm sitting behind like a waterfall. Now, the funniest thing is when there's certain meditations I do, and the place I choose to go is sit behind the waterfall, and that's what I'm getting there. It's like it's the waterfall, and behind the waterfall, not in front of it, behind it, watching the water coming down as well. That to me is very much about drowning out the noise, coming back to here, drowning out the outside noise. The only noise you got is the white noise of the water, and that's quite a strong image that comes through with her as well.
So like be your own curtain of water too, to draw your boundaries so you can focus on what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Nice. I've never heard that expressed before, and I love it. What a great sentiment. Okay. Whether or not we do this or not, no big deal, but I'm going to just do an American Bic lighter. I'm sure we could not say the word American. Bic lighter. So there's some light. I'll do it again in a second, but you can invite, pink would be Joy, green would be Mac, blue would be Charlotte, rainbow light would be a bunch of angels. You can see what you want to see around the light.
Yes.
And what colors did you get beyond the normal?
Okay, so for me, I get pink, but I'm also getting deep violet, like sort of a violet light, really deep violet, pinpoint almost.
Oh, I love it. How about Claire, who's resilience?
Oh, nice.
And last thing about your, we have our ebbs and flows in life, or our Mount Kilimanjaros when it comes to certain relationships where you're super stuck. You're like, how am I ever going to breathe again? I'm so trapped. Hear from Claire, a bravo on your resilience and your inspiration to others. Yeah. But hear a reminder from that you totally can speak from part of your book.
Yes. Yeah. You know what I love about that? That violet that you just showed me now, and this has happened for me probably ever. The first time I close my eyes in meditation, I get a violet light right there. Like there it is, a bang. So when I look at that, I'm just looking, oh, that's the light that comes to visit me at that time. Now, I've always just put that down as my highest guidance, that's just what I call it. I don't have a name for it, and that's what that reminds me of. I'm always with you. I am always with you. I'm always with you. And I just want to show you something. It's on my deck. I'm just sitting here. I have several decks of cards around me at the moment because I've been working, right? Can I just show you this picture?
Oh, please. Anything with cards. Oh, right in the spot you were just talking about.
Yeah. And I was just looking down and going, oh my God. But there it is. Like that's that. And so when I saw that light, that for me is like, that is the feeling that I get, is like, I'm always with you. I'm always with you. I'm always with you. And it's always been there. The funniest thing is I've had so many times where I've ignored it. This has always been there. It's just like, okay, go away. What are you doing? But that, yeah, I think the feeling there is that sense of you don't walk alone. You're not walking alone. And I think that's, we spoke about that earlier. It's really important that we sometimes, we don't feel that we feel like we're on our own, but we're never walking alone.
Oh, so speaking of which, I mean, in 10 or 11 years, there's only a couple of big things that I would mention to folks listening, and that's just out of your head into your heart. So whether it's a brew up, as they would say overseas, or just a walk, like you were just mentioning, or just not taking yourself so seriously or anything so seriously. So again, you can get yourself centered, reoriented, and remember that living. I'll have to do Dolnay one last time. He said literally, there's anything that I'm saying that sounds good is came from an angel or Dolnay for someone in the last 10 years. But Dolnay said life is a feast, partake. And I always thought that was so cool. The Chiefs, Dolnay for Geronimo said, feel what you feel, do not judge. Geronimo the other day, when I asked him for the 100th time, am I a good manifester? Because I got to hear things 1,000 times. Welcome to being human. Literally was like, sweet Jesus, Mike. Yes. And so I had to share that. I've shared it on a couple other shows, but it's still sticking with me because it reminds me of my English teacher at Andover, who I was asking about a pop quiz in the middle of us talking about Armageddon in some literature book, and he takes the eraser and just stamps my head with chalk. Yeah. So that's me going through life this way. But meanwhile, how about a couple final reminders for us all to keep it real, keep it not so real, keep it here, less dragon, more genius. And then why don't you focus on at least, it could be the tarot decks, the journals, the future this, the future book that, that you are getting a second assistant to handle the triple the workload and not even quintuple the audience. We're talking like 50 times bigger audience worldwide, with lots of just beautiful messages because you're keeping it grounded and simple.
Okay, so we were talking a little bit about manifestation there. Now, as I said to you before, we're all manifestors. Now, and when you say, "Are you a good manifestor?" We all are. It's not about what. It's not about that you are, or you aren't. It's about what you're manifesting. Okay, because really, it's just what shows up. It's already. It's what you would expect. So I do have something that I think is a great little tool. I think, and again, I spoke about this earlier, where I think people are not, they don't set enough intention. They're not specific enough about what they want. Now, if you go into a restaurant, okay, and you sit down and you're at a table and you order, let's just say you sit there and you say, "I'd like some eggs, please." And the eggs arrive, okay. And you look down at the plate and you go, "Oh dear, these are scrambled eggs. I really wanted eggs Benedict." It's kind of like when you're putting in an order with the universe, right? So you're sitting down and it's arrived, something arrives. Now, you have a choice when those eggs arrive. The first choice is this: "Oh, okay, that's not what I ordered. I'm going to have it anyway. I'm going to eat it anyway. So I'm just going to accept my lot and have that." That's your first choice. Your second choice is, "I want to season that and make it a little bit better, and I'm going to have that anyway." You have a third choice. The third choice is send it back with specific instruction about what you want your eggs to be. "Excuse me, waiter, could I have poached eggs, please, with spinach and mushrooms on the side, a little bit of salmon, da, da, da." Off it goes. Now, at no point is it your job to go to the kitchen and make that meal. At no point is it your job to wonder, where the hell is the chef? Why is this not working? He's going to do his job anyway, right? You just have to be in the right place at the right time to receive the meal that you ordered. Okay. So manifestation is that easy. It's the expectation that it's already there. It's already done. And here it is. And it's instantly, I'm enjoying my meal. There you go. You go in with the expectation you're going to have a lovely eggs Benedict, and there they are. They're right there. They are served. If they come up wrong, you reorder, right? So I have created a journal, and it's a manifestation journal for people to get really clear on what they intend for their lives, because saying you just want your life to be better is not clear enough. What does that look like for you? What does it feel like for you? And I find writing is very powerful. Now, I'm so excited because today, for the first time, and I love books, don't get me wrong. I've got the journal in a hardcover and in a soft cover, and it's illustrated with a tarot illustration that my son has drawn for my new tarot deck that is coming out in October. But I've created a digital version as well, just because it's like, really, if you want a digital version, it's available. You can get it online, you can print it, or you can do it online as well. But it really just, the idea of it is to sit down and be specific about everything that you want and describe it in detail, and then let it go. Close it. You've done it. You've set the intention. You don't have to ponder it anymore. Your order has been established with the universe. So for me, that's a very big part of what I believe to be true about this world. The other thing is obviously the meditations I find very good. I think my meditations are you know, no better than anybody else's, but I know that I resonate with certain people, and I do hope that they have the capacity for people to stop for 5 minutes a day and just find time to be still. And to be with themselves and to just give themselves a little bit of an inner journey as opposed to the outer journey and that outward, outward, outward expression all the time. Just come inward, just stop a little bit, be here, be still. Um, what else? I don't know what else to talk about, really, Michael. What else are we talking about right
Well,
now?
for manifesting the trusting, back to the chef in the
Yeah,
kitchen and the
yeah,
egg, you don't have to worry about the how, you don't have to worry about the background of the chef. And I've always done the five-star restaurant analogy. Just let hospitality be shown to you by angels, guides, light beings, you know, your relatives. Put it out there. More specific and detailed, the better, because you're being specific detail, you're owning it, and you're owning the flows and what it would feel like. Now I'm still working on the feeling thing because I feel like I'm such a blank. It's not a bad thing. It allows me to do a lot extra sometimes. But I'm doing a vision board. Like, I think it was Maui, was it Wayne Dyer who moved into the place and realized when he was unpacking a box that he found
yes,
the
yeah,
exact photo of the house he had bought, and he didn't know that he was gonna, you know, he didn't figure it out. He had put the
yeah,
picture up years earlier and he bought that
yeah,
house. That's crazy. I don't think many vision boards quite work that way, but I've already heard the house is picked out in Maui. Charlotte's just said it's got a view of a pier. It's up high enough that if there was the tsunami thing, it's still within walking distance of the beach. But I'm doing photographs and stuff like that. So the how, and if it's a 5-star restaurant, there's Danny Myers, the restaurateur in New York, who's done a wonderful job of his book Setting the Table. He talks about there's customer service, and then there's hospitality, and then I'll just say there's universal hospitality. It's pure love. Angels are the chefs, they're the maitre d', they're the owners, they're the person who
yeah,
greets you at the door. They've got your table set aside, the one that your grandmother loves. Even if your grandmother's passed, she's with you and she's like, let's do our table. You're not to worry, and you can do the New York thing and yell make it nice, and they just send you wave after wave that's not even on the menu that you love. You get a platinum card, you don't have to pay the bill. But take it from there, because I've heard from 5 different amazing people this year. Stop worrying about the delivery, the how. Let the universe, let angels do their job. And it was talking about the topic of manifesting, getting out of your head, getting out of your own way, get into your heart, start living more, start trusting more. And so this is up your alley. And this will be our final inspirational Lieselle Elliot, the eternaltarot.com moment.
So the thing with this, I would say, is if you really want something to manifest in your life, and I think this is really important, it's you can't keep saying, "Oh, it will come," or "It will be here eventually," or "It will show up one day." All of those present phrases that have a gap in time, and really the powerful thing is this: it already is. Here it is right now. I am living as though it's here. And you have to feel it, think it, breathe it, smell it, believe it, and not make it happen. The universe, if you try and make it happen, is trying to deliver you a gift that is way bigger than you can conceptualize. And you're trying to stuff that gift into a tiny little box of your own making. Really? You know, it's really open the lid, let it flow in as it's meant to do it, and it's bigger than it is us, it is who we are, but we're only a smidgen of it. We are like a one drop of sea salt in the ocean, and that ocean has great might, doesn't it? We're just the drop. Now we can just jump back into that ocean and become that ocean. Okay, you jump back in, and now you have the might of the ocean with you. But when you're trying to run around like just that little grain of salt, it's going to do nothing. Jump into the ocean. That's where you belong. That's where your power lies. You are the universe.
Oh, Matchbox, let go, get to the heart, open air, and allow. Lieselle Elliot in France right now, again from South Africa, 20 years in Australia. Lots of offerings, guided meditation, YouTube. You can find her there. 900,000 plus on TikTok. She's got 1,000 counterfeit folks out there trying to act like her. Make sure that her TikTok handle, it's the word _eternal_tarot. Facebook.com/the eternal tarot. Her website, theeternaltarot.com. Decks, journals, a calendar. Again, artist, poet, writer, was an editor at the Elephant Journal. shared with us her Wayne Dyer experience, and the book is going to share so much more. Thank you so much for being on, Lieselle. Hopefully we'll have you back as fast as you'd be willing to come back. I know the audience has enjoyed this. I have. This has been Angels, Positivity, and Love. Thank you for being on, Lieselle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been marvelous.